Hello, this is Storm Warden coming back at you today with another update. And today we're going to talk about the potential for a Gulf storm. Um, some models have been showing some weird scenarios, so that's what we're going to talk about today. And if you've been liking my weather content, please subscribe, as I will again be bringing daily updates and keeping you guys aware. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we're looking at satellite. And this is the wide view of the Atlantic and the Western Atlantic, and there's nothing out there that really looks very ominous right now. We have a couple areas that I can draw on your screen. The first being right here. Got a little area right here. We got another little area behind there, and then we got this area in the Caribbean that we're watching out for, but nothing that really it's really scary looking as of now. So again, uh, the Atlantic has been very anemic, and thus far, and it continues to look that way at least through the medium term. But this little area over here in the Caribbean that we've been watching for the last week or so, it could do some interesting things. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to start off by showing you the National Hurricane Center's tropical weather outlook. And we have three areas to watch, and they're all 30%. Well, this one's 10, and then this one's 20. So we got 20, 10, 30. 20, 10, and then we have a 30% over here in the Caribbean. And this is an area that we need to watch out for maybe an interesting scenario where we get a couple areas of convection to all combine into one piece of energy, and maybe we can get some tropical formation out of that. But again, very small chance, but it is something to watch out for, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And then we got a 10% out here of that convection I just showed you back over here. Again, probably won't do much because as you get these troughs to come in, what's going to end up happening is that as these cold fronts push off the coast, it's going to provide wind shear, and wind shear is probably going to tear apart any convection that's lasting as this pushes uh, west. And then you also going to have dry air, so you got some hurdles, but probably won't overcome that. So that's why it only a 10%, and then this one it's only a 20% chance, and that'll probably die out due to dry air as well. So overall, pretty anemic. Nothing too scary out here, but a couple areas to watch over here, especially in the Caribbean. So we're gonna start off by giving you the GFS model, and let me scoot down here, and I'm gonna show you this, and then we're gonna go through all the models, and then like I always do towards the end of the video, I'll give you my overall thoughts. So let's start here at the GFS model. This is OOZ from last night, and we're just gonna show you this. And again, as we go through time, the GFS model doesn't agree. It doesn't think that this system is really going to be able to do much. It doesn't think it's going to really be able to consolidate into one piece of energy. So, because the GFS basically just shows all this convection just basically dying out and just becoming some rain over Mexico. So, that is certainly a good possibility that can happen. But I want to show you some alternate scenarios, particularly from the models that have been consistent in showing it. So, I'm going to show you the ICON model next, because the ICON model has been very consistent in showing all these areas of rain and storms consolidating and creating one area of one piece of energy, and then pushing it northeast in the Gulf of Mexico and allowing it to become something of substance. So as we go through the run, we're going to go through this, and in this area of low pressure will be, look at that. ICON wants to grow this into a tropical storm, Memino Category 1 hurricane into the Gulf of Mexico, and then it pushes it northeast. Now, one thing I want to tell you about the ICON models has been very consistent in showing this scenario. And the ICON model, I think it's a really good model. It's been a good model, so I think it is something to definitely watch. But it's been showing this scenario for a lot of model runs now, so it certainly bears watching. But what it's doing, so basically what's happening here is that area that we were watching the other day, where I mentioned that it was a 20% chance. Well, no longer is it 20%. Is it a 20% chance? Because the expectation from the icon model is that this will meander south, and then it will combine with what this 30% is. It's going to combine with that, and it's all going to become one piece of energy, and then you're going to get maybe a tropical cyclone to form in the Gulf of Mexico, and then it wants to push northeast into, the very extreme warm waters over here in the Gulf of Mexico. So that is certainly a possibility. Icon models have been very consistent. Now we're going to go over to the Euro model, and this is OOZ from last night, and we're going through time. And the Euro model has been back and forth on what it wants to do. Its ensembles are definitely much happier, much more energetic. But there were a few model runs back where the Euro model is actually showing this becoming one piece of energy, just like the icon model, and it becoming like some type of tropical depression or storm in the Gulf, in the southwestern Gulf, and then pushing northeast. So again, some models are on it, some models aren't. But yeah, the Euro's been somewhat off and on, and this is a tricky scenario because what you have here is an area of interest, a low pressure right up in here, and then you have an area of disturbed weather, basically storms and rain down here. The expectation from the icon model is that all of these will combine. This area low, and then this area of showers and thunderstorm activity will all combine into one piece of energy, and then it just meanders in the southwest Gulf. And then it ends up pushing northeast, and then as it does so, it strengthens into maybe a tropical cyclone. That is the expectation from the icon model. And it was the expectation from the Euro model, but it's been off and on. So again, certainly a possibility to watch, because if that happens, you may be able to get some development. We may be able to get our next name off the hurricane list. So interesting development in the models. Here's Canadian model, and we're going through time, and it shows the same scenario, albeit it doesn't necessarily combine both lows. What the Canadian model does is it just strengthens this area of interest. That's a 30%. It just strengthens this, and then it moves it to Mexico as a tropical storm, weak tropical storm. So again, all possibilities are on the table. Yeah, that's GFS. All models are all possibilities are on the table, but definitely some interesting model guidance there. Now, I want to show you some ensembles because, as I always tell you, ensemble guidance is like one of the best tools to use if used correctly. And again, as we go through time, you don't see much because the GFS and the GEFS ensembles just aren't energetic when the system really developing into anything much. And guys, that's certainly a possibility. There isn't concrete evidence that this is just going to happen, like the icon model showed, where we get two areas of disturbed weather to basically combine into one piece of energy and create a tropical cyclone. There's no concrete evidence that suggests that, but it is on the table. And here's why: because the EPS ensembles are way more energetic than its own operation around the Euro. So, because these models show the potential for some tropical development. You got a couple areas in here. You got a couple stronger members in here showing a hurricane. Again, I don't want to say this is likely, but it is on the table because again, models have been back and forth, because whenever you have an area of low pressure and then you have all these other areas of rain, it's hard for models to really decipher which is going to become the main piece of energy. And the expectation is that if these two areas do combine into one piece of energy, will they just meander into Mexico, or will they meander like the icon model show over the southwest Gulf and push northeast? One thing I would tell you is that there's a pretty big old trough moving across the eastern part of the United States. That may actually help push whatever is over here a little bit northeast. That is a possibility. But if we don't have any if we don't have one piece of energy, then it'll be a lot harder for that to happen. So I'm gonna take you back to this because here, if you get a piece of energy to form in the Gulf, sea surface temperatures are very, very warm. So if you can get consolidation of both pieces of energy into just one main piece, well then you might be able to get something to develop. You certainly could. One thing I would tell you though is that there's gonna be a lot of rainfall along the Texas and Gulf Coast. A couple of things to watch out for. You're gonna have a stall front somewhere up in here. You're gonna have a stall front, right? You also had this area of disturbed weather right up in here. I'll put an L here. What all this is going to do is provide tons of rainfall on the Texas and Gulf Coast from the stall front itself and then from this area of disturbed weather. Along with very high sea surface temperatures, this should all just combine and allow for a pretty nasty rainfall event along the Gulf Coast and along that Texas coast. So if you're anywhere from about the Texas coast to along the Gulf Coast, you could see some nasty rain totals over the next few days from this stall front and then this low pressure. Now, if you can get this area of disturbed weather to combine with this low pressure, you may even have a tropical system to watch out for down here in the Gulf. But right now, models are back and forth. We don't really know. But overall, guys, that's really it. I mean, if you know, it's as simple as if you can get this piece of energy that was highlighted as a 20% the other day if you watch my video, and then if you can get this area disturbed weather to combine with that and you get one piece of energy, well then you might be looking at a tropical system down here in the Gulf. As of now, not a very high chance, but it is a chance nonetheless, and I feel like I need to mention as your storm warden because this is my job to keep you guys warned of any upcoming storms or any possibility of storms hitting the U.S. Now, again, I feel like I should have probably showed you guys how that rainfall map up here. I don't, but I do want to alert you guys that there's a stall front, which just means a very stationary front right along the Gulf Coast. Right along these areas where I drew that line. There's a stall front right up in here somewhere. Maybe not this exact location, but you also had that area disturbed weather right off the Texas coast. All this is going to provide ample amounts of copious amounts of rainfall all along the Gulf and the Texas coast. So if you're along these areas, be weather aware for some heavier rainfall. And that's it from your storm warden today.